Hey everybody. I'm glad that y'all can stop by tonight for the show. I do have a special guest on with us tonight. Uh, I got a few announcements before I bring her up. This coming Monday night, me and my dad's gonna go out to the cemetery and do an investigation. And this weekend, probably around um, Friday night, I guess we're gonna go back and over to John Martin's grave and do an investigation there again with Joseph, and we'll see if we can't recreate that gust of wind like I've been talking about for a while. Uh, then we're gonna work on the cemetery over there also and get that finished, get the tree up out of the middle of it. So we will be posting some of the pictures like that on Facebook and everything. And so everybody, I just want to give y'all uh, the announcements right quick. And here is our guest. She is an author and she does investigations also. And here she is. Hey.
Hey, Jonathan, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. Good. It's a Sunday evening and no complaints. So far,
Yeah.
so good.
I've got a little bit of cold starting, so I'll probably be a little hoarse every now and then.
Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that.
Uh, so how have you been?
I've been good. I've been good. I had surgery on June 17th, so I'm still sort of recovering from that.
Yeah.
Um, Planning a wedding, getting married in October.
Okay.
Yeah, and pretty much finishing up the book about the Trivet Clinic, which I chatted with you about and interviewed you for. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's I'm excited. It's finally coming together. The editor has started looking at it. Yeah, I'll see how it goes.
That's pretty awesome. When you get married?
I'm getting married in October, so October 15th is the big day. So
Okay. Yeah, my birthday's the 28th of October.
oh, nice, nice. That's perfect timing. There you go.
Yeah. Um. So I just wanted to bring you on and talk about yourself a little bit and talk about what you do, and you can talk about your book and stuff and whatever other books you wrote.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah, I guess what would you like to know?
I just how'd you get started in the paranormal?
That's a good question. Yeah, so how I got started in the paranormal. Whew, okay. So, let's see. I had the earliest experience I can remember. In it was in this little small town in Kentucky, this little tri-state area in Appalachia. So we're talking like the tri-state area. So if you go across one bridge from Kentucky, you go to Ohio. If you go across the other bridge, you go to West Virginia. So this was like very rural. It's where my grandmother grew up. I was a California girl. I grew up in San Diego, but we went to Kentucky every summer because that's where my grandma's family was. Um, and the best ghost stories always start with it's a dark and stormy night.
Yeah.
It was a dark and stormy night. I wasn't exposed to a lot of the really harsh like East Coast rain and thunderstorms. Again, San Diego kid, we get rain maybe 2 or 3 times per year. It's not like a thing. So I was looking outside to watch the rain and everything because I had never seen rain come down like that. And I was about 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just kind of scanning the outside, and my great grandmother, my mama, lived on this. She lived on several acres, and it was on a hill. So I'm looking, and if this hill is even remotely muddy, you're going to slip and fall, and people have gotten majorly injured while trying to walk this hill in the rain. So I was like kind of looking outside. It's thundering and lightning, and I see this hooded figure dressed in all like dark clothing, and I'm like, okay, that's that's weird. But like the wind was going crazy, the rain was blowing, but this hooded figure was not moving. They weren't even phased. Like the fabric they were wearing wasn't even going with the wind. It was the
Yeah.
weirdest thing. So I get freaked out. I close the curtains and then like a minute later I'm like, "Oh, is it still out there?" And I look, it's still out there, but it moved closer to me, to the house. Okay, so I close the close the curtains again. And then again, I'm curious. So I open the curtains and boom, the hooded figure is even closer. And at that point, I just shut the curtains. I run to the bed and I get under the covers because, that's base. That's the safe spot for a kid. And my mama lived in your classic 1920s, 1930s, like depression home. Like there's maybe 2, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, very like it's not like a nice, it's not like your average house at all. This was very much like if the wind blows too hard, the house is coming down.
Yeah.
And the mattress I was sleeping on was so firm that it didn't necessarily, it wasn't, I don't even know if firm is the right word. It was just very cheap. So instead of like sinking, when you sit in it, it tilts. So it just goes like this. And so I always knew when my mama was coming to bed and she and I shared a bed because that's how the arrangement was.
Yeah.
Whenever my mama got into bed, the bed would tip and my little body would slide down and hit her. And it's like, oh, there's my mama. So after seeing the hooded figure, I run into bed. I put the covers over me. I'm closing my eyes because I'm like, this isn't cool. The bed tilts and I have this feeling of relief because I'm like, oh, my mama's here. This is, great. I'm protected. Mama's here.
Yeah.
I slide completely off the bed
Oh.
and I look up and the bed is still tilted. And then maybe 10 seconds later, it just goes right back up like someone stood up. Yeah, so that was my earliest and most memorable paranormal experience. I didn't really get, I got into it as soon as I was old enough to drive. So I was, I was going out to the cemetery, local cemetery, ghost hunting,
Yeah.
because you go to the cemetery to look for ghosts when you don't know any better,
Yeah.
especially when you're first starting out and you don't know about other locations.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cemetery. No, there's a cemetery in Old Town San Diego. Let's go there. It has to be haunted. And then let's see. And then, of course, I had a very devastating car accident when I was about 19 years old on New Year's Eve. And my car had hydroplaned on a freeway ramp. I got out of the car to get my stuff because I knew they were going to have to tow it. Another car came and hit me. I fell 25 feet onto the road below, broke a lot of bones. But that experience, I don't know if I had an out of body experience or if it was a near death experience, but either way, I ended up with a spirit attachment that I picked up at the hospital, which was fun.
Okay.
So I would say, if anything, that was the experience that inspired me and influenced me to investigate seriously, because this happened in 2005 going into 2006. The TV show Ghost Hunters had just come out. Paranormal community it existed in a certain form, like on Yahoo chats and Yahoo message boards and maybe just random places on the internet, but it's not like today where there's like 5 teams around me and I could just call them up right now.
Yeah.
This was very much we don't have anyone to help us. So that was the incident that inspired me to really go in harder with this. So,
Okay.
yeah.
What got you into writing books and stuff?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see. So I was in grad school. I was finishing up my master's in theater, and I was talking to my mentor because in my graduate program you had to basically do some sort of project, whether it was like a thesis, a dissertation, or some sort of creative project.
Yeah.
And I decided to do a kind of a combination of both projects. I had realized, thanks to my mentor, my advisor, who was looking at all of my work I had done for the past 2 years, and he said, most of your papers and your projects have had something to do with, supernatural or paranormal lore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Oh, really? It was one of those things like the interest was always there, but I didn't really like fully acknowledge it. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, have you thought about like this making this your project?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." So basically my not really a dissertation because it was for a master's program, not a PhD, but was basically exploring the relationship between the paranormal and theater. And then a couple years later, I decided to expand on it because there was a lot of people who were interested in like haunted theaters and ghost stories with like actors, and I just decided to put it out there as a book. So I expanded on it, and then I released it in 2014, January 2014, which is The Haunted Actor. That was my first book. And then after that, I kind of got bit by the writing bug. If I pace myself, I can write.
Mhm.
um, yeah. So, and I realized people were interested in reading my work, and they were interested in they were interested in more than just like going out and ghost hunting. They wanted to know research behind it. They wanted to know different things, and so I was like, okay, let's keep writing books. And I started writing about my personal experiences, how to ghost hunt, how to do residential cases, so how to go into people's homes.
Yeah.
Um, and then this book that's coming out, I got a book contract with Llewellyn a couple of years ago for a book called The Haunting of the 10th Avenue Theater. That was my first book about a haunted location. So actually the Trivia Clinic book is going to be my second book about a haunted location.
Okay.
So I always enjoy those books, those types of books. And yeah, that's where I am.
That's cool. There's
Yeah.
a Facebook user says hi to you.
Oh, hello.
Then my buddy Dwayne, he says hi to me. Hope I'm doing well, and I'm doing pretty good since I'm home from work now. Raymond, he says good evening. So yeah, I've do got a couple video clips on here from the clinic that
Yeah.
we did. I'm gonna play them for you here in a little bit and get you uh see what you think about them.
Okay. Sounds good.
I call it a rocking chair that moved on its own, and I've got where we had the REM pod sitting in the hallway, and you can see at the starting of the clip, you can see the some orbs up top. The REM pod will be going off, and then you can see the orbs going up. As soon as they disappeared, the REM pod cut off.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it's going to be they're pretty cool.
If anyone's
Um,
wondering why my door just moved by itself, it's because of a cat. It's a paranormal show. I have to debunk it right away before people start wondering about the ghost in my apartment. There is a
yeah.
ghost in my apartment, but they're pretty calm.
uh, where was the first place that you actually went and investigate?
Mm. Wow, a full out investigation. Wow, I'm really going back. I think this is going back to my San Diego days. So I'm so after grad school, like after I got my master's, I really wanted to like dive in deeper in like the paranormal and supernatural, ghost hunting and all that good stuff. So I contacted a few teams who were local, and I was very transparent. I said, "Hey, I just want to see if this is for me. Is it okay if I shadow you? Like if I can just kind of be a fly on the wall and see what the experience is like."
Yeah.
And one group that I had connected with, they took us to Old Town San Diego, which was kind of my old stomping grounds. Um, and we went back to that cemetery that I would go to and go, in high school and college, I would go and investigate. And yeah, it's called the El Campo Santo Cemetery. It's if anyone's familiar with the Whaley House in San Diego, it's right down the street.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's the earliest one as a ghost hunter that I can recall. You're actually the first one to ever ask me that, so you stumped me. Nice job.
um, let's see. I got some notes written down, so that's I keep forgetting everything every time I ask somebody something. I just been started doing this. I've asked people about would they would they go investigate if somebody will tell them they'll go with them, would you go investigate the Bermuda Triangle?
Ooh. If I had a guarantee of coming back, definitely. Well, okay, I have to rephrase that. If I have a guarantee of coming back still somewhat sane and physically okay, yes.
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of stories about the Bermuda Triangle, and um it's it's kind of funny. It's like when we're growing up, we were made to feel like the Bermuda Triangle was going to be a more of a thing in our lives than it
yeah,
actually is. Not quite so much anymore, but would I go? Yeah, I think so. I think
yeah.
so.
I'll probably go too. I just have to tie a string to me, and put it on so they can pull me back. So I know I'll get back. So
Yep, that's exactly it. It's like I need a breadcrumb trail or rope, yep, to yank me back in.
yeah, yeah. Um, do you take anybody with you when you go investigate or anything?
I do. I do have a small team. I two of them are located in North Carolina, and I have another one in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is only, depending on traffic, 30, 45 minutes away from me. If there's traffic, it's more like an hour and a half. But yeah, so they tend to be my go-to group when I go ghost hunting. But lately I've been booking investigations with people who are like, "Hey, we're going to this spot. Do you want to come with us?" And I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't go ghost hunting or
Yeah,
investigating by myself at all.
yeah,
Just because it's a safety hazard these
yeah,
days. Well, it's always been a safety hazard, but yeah, I try not to go alone. I'll try to at least have at least one person with
yeah,
me. But yeah, so I have a team, but I've also have gotten invites to join other people. So I'm like, yeah, let's branch out and diversify a little bit.
yeah. You're always invited to come hunt with us anytime you want to.
Well, thank you.
We getting ready. We actually getting ready to book the clinic probably next month or the month after that one. I hadn't heard back from them yet, so
Oh, nice.
as soon as they give me the answer, I will figure out the date and stuff like that.
Cool.
Uh, have you ever stayed in a haunted hotel when you go somewhere, or
Ooh. Yeah, so I've actually I've investigated and stayed at a haunted hotel before. It was the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood, California. That one has quite a few ghost stories, especially regarding Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe has been sighted in the mirror. I think it's still in the lobby of the Roosevelt. It's a huge hotel. So the mirror's kind of off in a corner that you can't really find. A couple of Hollywood actors are associated with that haunting. I've also stayed at the Brookstown Inn in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is also known to be haunted.
yeah,
Um, since Wyndham took it over, though, they're not really open or receptive to like ghost hunts there. So it's like you just have to book a room and then kind of do your own thing.
yeah,
Um, and then try to get the haunted room or at least the haunted floor, or get a bunch of your friends to book a room on the same floor and then y'all can do your thing. Um, that one, I didn't get a lot of activity at the Brookstown Inn. Maybe some voices and footsteps that we couldn't quite explain.
yeah.
But again, it's a hotel, so it's a little hard to be like, oh yeah, that was a ghost. Let's see. Yeah, there's been quite a few hotels. There was actually, I'm getting ready to go back to North Carolina in a few weeks for my bridal shower, and I wanted to book it so bad, but I couldn't justify the price. It was a haunted Airbnb.
Yeah.
It was actually featured on Ghost Brothers. And I was tempted to book it, but after like, because Airbnb, they charge you like cleaning fees and
Yeah,
everything, it was going to be like $500 for 3 nights, and I'm like, I can't justify that. I can stay at a Marriott for 300. So I'm
yeah,
like, maybe another time, if I can split the cost with somebody. But yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's quite a community out there for haunted hotels and everything. It's really interesting how that whole area has grown a bit.
We got a question right here from the chat. I think it's from Amber.
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
where is your dream location for an investigation?
Oh boy, dream location. Ah, I think it's funny because I live in the same town as it, but I really I don't think it'll ever happen in my lifetime. And if it did happen, I could never tell anybody. But I would love to investigate the White House.
That's mine.
Yeah,
That's mine.
and it pains me because literally it's 10 minutes away from me.
Yeah,
Like it's 10 minutes away. I actually went to the White House in April just to. You live 10 minutes away and you want to go sightseeing? Why not? And I was at the South Lawn, which is right next to Lafayette Square. So it's not like the north side
yeah,
that faces the Washington Monument. And they have a couple fences around it now. They have like the main fence, but then they have a boarded fence around the White House that you can't see through. And I was looking at the White House and I look and I see this like dark shadow of this. It looks like the silhouette of a woman in period dress, and I had to do a double take, and then it was gone. She was gone like a second later.
yeah.
The only other person on the lawn was the Secret Service agent, with the sniper rifle ready to go, um, off to the side. But yeah, I was like, man, that's not fair.
Yeah. Um. So, how? What do you think about the Trivet Clinic? I mean, that's a place and a half to go. I ain't never been there yet, and it hadn't really showed something that make you want to go back again. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I I can't wait to go back.
Yeah. The Trivet Clinic. Well, where do I begin? It's definitely one of my favorite spots. It's probably my most favorite spot,
Yeah,
really, because it's accessible, which in North Carolina, and this is no offense to the North Carolina paranormal community, but it's really hard to find places sometimes,
yeah,
whether it's exclusive contracts or they're historic places that don't trust ghost hunters. I don't
yeah,
blame them. It's hard to find places that are easily accessible like that. And the Trivet Clinic is one of my favorites for that's mainly one of the big reasons, but also anytime I'm there, something happens. Like something
yeah,
happens, it's not the same all the time. And sometimes there's like different types of activity.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's also a haunting where I don't know. I feel like because I started investigating there in 2018, so 4 years now, where I feel like I have a friendship with the spirits there. Like I'm very comfortable there. They
yeah.
know me, I know them. I feel like I can talk to them like friends, and I know they look out for me. If that makes sense, it's a weird. Well, this is a paranormal show, so it's not weird, I guess. um, but it's definitely one of those things where it's a very special place, and it's got the small town feel to it. Also, it hasn't been heavily commercialized,
Yeah.
um, which and no offense to like Waverly Hills or Trans Allegheny or these really big ones that are commercialized these days, but Trivet
Yeah,
Clinic still has something really special to it that makes it very appeasing to go back.
yeah, yeah. I've been there. I think it's either 9 to 10 times when we've been there. So
Nice.
it's and we always get something different when we go back. It's
Hmm.
always something different happen.
Yep. It does that. It's like anytime especially when you're trying to debunk things and it's like, oh, I got it. And then it doesn't happen again. You're like, dang it.
I want to show you a clip from the clinic. Uh, let's see. This is if you let's let me find it. All right, this is the REM pod sitting in the hallway,
Hmm.
and it's right at the very starting of the clip. Um, my DVR system don't have sound, so you can't hear nothing. There's nobody in the building. We was all outside,
Okay.
and you'll see it at the starting of the clip, and it's only lasts for a few seconds. So here is the first clip. You see it at
Oh.
the very starting of it.
Yeah. Usually, and any of my followers who are watching this right now, I have very mixed feelings about orbs. But you have something interesting going on there where you have the anomaly, or I say anomaly, the orb moving at the beginning of the clip, and then the REM pod responds. So you have
Yeah.
two things. You have two things going on there.
It
That's
took it took me
interesting.
a while to catch it. I stayed up for a solid 24 hours one night just trying to find it.
Oh wow.
Just just trying to find something to show. And
Dang.
here's the one with the rocking chair in the red room.
Hmm.
That's where the other clip was at. In the camera sitting in the red room, facing out in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
So this right here is the rocking chair that's in the red room, and you can see it rocking. You have to pay close attention to the rocking chair.
Oh yeah, there it goes. Huh.
It just started all by itself. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing there that can make it move.
Right. Hmm. That one's interesting. So the red room is always such an interesting room. So much happens in that room.
It
Um
is.
yeah,
I,
that's yeah. Yeah, I remember Doug telling me about this clip, and he was so excited, and I was like,
yeah,
"Okay, I want to see it for myself." And it's fascinating. It's
it
especially
is.
when nobody else is in there. It just starts moving by itself. I mean, and it's an old building, but not to the point where things start moving by themselves. So
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Hmm.
That I mean, I've still got a bunch of video hours on my DVR system that I hadn't even really went over from my previous investigations there,
Hmm.
and I'm still waiting to see what all I'll catch on them.
Yeah, I
But
bet.
I think them two's about my favorite clips so far that I've actually caught.
Nice. Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think of things. So I've I've caught quite a few weird things at the Trivia Clinic. First, the first visit I ever made was April 2018. And we were in the basement towards the end of the evening. And one of my investigators we were trying to engage with Majesty, the little girl in the basement. And she's like, well, why don't we play tag? And so I was like, okay, let's play tag. And so we were all getting set up, to do this little game of tag. And I say something. I say, "Hey, Majesty," or not. I don't even think I addressed a name. I just said, let you touch one of us, say our names, let us know who's it, and you can hear this little voice say, "Tag," and I'm like, "Okay, I'm hooked. I'm good. You got me." And we tried to debunk it. I mean, we had a professional audio engineer with us that evening who set up these really like expensive mics and stuff. And so I sent him the timestamp and I said, "Hey, did you catch this too?" And he was definitely more of a skeptic, and he said, "Oh, it's just environmental noise from outside and the other people that were around." And I said, "Okay, but one, we don't hear them. We don't hear these people throughout any other moment in the audio, but also we heard the word tag
Yeah,
like very specific. It was, if it was like a hey or what's up, be like, okay, maybe it was. I mean, the trivia clinic sound carries like crazy.
Oh yeah.
But we were in the basement talking about playing tag. The other group was on the second floor, so there was a floor dividing us. And we weren't shouting, we weren't talking loud. We just said, hey, if you're playing, if you let us know who's it, just talking like in this lower voice. So if I didn't hear the word tag, I would have been like, maybe you're right. But we heard the word tag. And then I asked him, I said, hey, could you send me an example like of what you heard on your end of it? And he never sent me the audio for that. So I'm like, maybe it's you couldn't debunk it, or you just want to debunk it, but you're not going to show it's, like homework. You need to show your work.
Yeah.
Because I'm technically a skeptical believer, but I also believe in accountability on both sides.
Yeah.
If you're going to convince me it's a ghost, you need to show your work. If you're going to convince me that it's debunked, you need to show your work. So I asked him, I said, hey, can you send me what you caught then that proves that this was environmental noise? And he never did. So I'm like, okay, tag still stands as paranormal, or at least as anomalous, as we say. It's weird.
Do you would you ever take an animal with you to an investigation?
I have been seeing discussions happening of bringing an animal. um I think if it was a place like Trivia Clinic, I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
I think I would be okay with that because I know that my animals are safe. Although I have cats, so I mean, it's not like I'm going to be taking cats with me on a ghost hunt. So I think this is tricky. Now, if it was a place where, like the Thomas house, where more negative activity is known to happen, absolutely not. I would
Yeah.
not bring an animal. I would just really have to gauge. I'd have to gauge how the activity is and what kind of activity it is. I think it's kind of the same as, would you bring kids on an investigation too?
Yeah.
Which has been a very heavily debated topic in the paranormal field as well. So,
Yeah.
and my answer still stands. I would 100% take a child to the Trivia Clinic.
Yeah, I would.
Maybe not to the Red Room, just because the activity in that room is kind of hit or miss when it comes to positive and negative,
Yeah.
or at least heavily supervised. Of like, okay, get ready to toss the kid down the stairs. Not like that, but it's like get ready to vacate the premises if it gets intense. But definitely the basement. Because I've seen Majesty interact with kids. I mean, Majesty and or Jimmy. So
Yeah.
it just
My
depends on the type of activity.
my cousin took her daughter down there, and actually she went in the red room with us too, and that's when little bit something there rough happened that night in the red room, so she had to take her outside, trying to get her out from what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But we had, like I said, we had some crazy stuff happen up in the red room,
Yeah.
and it was real crazy.
Uh, what kind of activity did you get in the Red Room? I know we talked about it in our interview, but different context.
Um, it was it was the night that when my dad was sitting in the rocking chair in the red room, and somehow, no, it was the wrong one. It was where the rocking chair was moving. That's when she went with us on. She had went over to pick up the K2 out of the rocking chair, and I forget how old she is. She was by like 7, 8 years old, 9 years old, something like that. And she just reached over there and picked up the K2 with two little fingers like that. Didn't even hardly touch the rocking chair. She turned to her right and walked away. And there's like a step ladder, 8-foot step ladder, setting up beside of her. and she walked over to it. And the time she reached over there, that's when that rocking chair was moving. When she had turned around and walked away to the ladder, and that's when that was moving.
Oh my gosh.
That's the video clip I caught right there.
Wow.
I
Huh.
mean, she just all she did just barely touched the K2 meter and picked it up like that and turned, and that's when it went off.
Wow.
And I've played that video back thousands of times, and I did not see her touch that rocking chair nowhere.
Dang.
Yes, I mean, it was crazy.
That's insane. Holy
And
cow.
she got scared because there's something other like banging, and the K2 was going off, the REM pod was going off, all at the same time, like I was trying to manipulate everything at one time.
Wow.
And she just got scared, and she actually had to go out because of it.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the one thing I get worried about with bringing kids. I'm like, is this something like I want them to talk to their therapist about in like 10 years? you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
It's like, do I want to inflict trauma that early?
yeah. Yeah. Uh, if y'all was like staying at a hotel room and you was in bed sleep, dead sleep, would you get up and leave because there's something there like pulled the cover off of you, pulled your foot, or when
Mm.
you open your eyes and they're like right there?
Actually, this almost happened to me in Gettysburg, the
Oh no.
1863 Inn. So the 1863 Inn is located in Gettysburg. It is right not in the center of like downtown, but right where like all the shops and the stores are for like the ghost hunting groups. It's right there. It's right next door to the Jenny Wade house, which is also haunted. It's across the street from the orphanage, the haunted orphanage, which has a nasty thing in there.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I was with my two of my team members, my historian and my psychic medium. Maybe this was because I shared a hotel room with a psychic medium who was basically like this big lighthouse for spirits of like, hey, I can see and talk to you. Come talk to me. And oh my gosh. So it was about 2:30 in the morning, but um I I was like half asleep, but I heard this huge crash, like, and I thought my friend who I was sharing a bed with, I thought she fell out of bed. And so I swung my arm over and she was still there. And then she wakes up and she jumps because she thought she saw because she had this dream where we like me, her, and our psychic medium were on a train and we were trying to get away from this tall shadow figure. And apparently in her dream, like we were cornered in a booth and we looked up and there's the shadow figure. And that's when she woke up and she saw the shadow figure too. And so we're both freaked out when we wake up. And my psychic medium's in the other bed and she's been awake and she's just sitting upright. She's like, yeah, this room is full of ghosts right now. So that was like the closest I had ever gotten to, being like, maybe I'll go sleep in the car,
Yeah.
or well, it probably wouldn't have been much better because it's Gettysburg and
Yeah.
you could toss a rock and hit a ghost. I mean, that's what I joke about. It's you can literally toss a rock and hit a ghost. So
Yeah. My cousin says she loves Gettysburg. She's been there, I think, one time. I'm not sure.
yeah.
Uh, Lisa, she says, hello, everyone.
Hello, Lisa.
Um, yeah, it was. That's one of my other places I want to go. I'm a big Civil War freak. I
Mm,
love, I love anything about the Civil War,
yeah.
and Gettysburg is one of my number one places I do want to go to.
Yep.
Uh, or
It's 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 a
just
good
any.
place. It's a great place to investigate. I recommend going either September or November. It's right at the end of peak season. Well, September's more closer to the end of peak season, but it's cooler.
Yeah.
All the kids are back to school, so it's not as crowded. I mean, um, been there in the summer, and it's not terrible crowd wise, but eh. It makes it tough to investigate because there's a lot of environmental noise outside. Because there's
Yeah.
walking tours happening all over the place.
Yeah.
It's a great place. Oh, someone's hotel was on the paranormal walking tour. Wonder if it was the Farnsworth house. That's a haunted bed and breakfast. I'd love to stay there, but I have to like acknowledge the fact I wouldn't get sleep if I stayed there.
Yeah.
Most likely not. Yeah, so it's definitely a very it's a special place. I'd say after the Terrific Clinic, that's one of my favorite places to go. And I just investigated in Gettysburg, well, a month ago, but about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I went to an untouched building in Gettysburg that had never been investigated before. That's a rare opportunity in Gettysburg. So I was like, hey,
Yeah.
okay, let's do this. And it didn't disappoint. It was very, very haunted. A lot of weird stuff happening there.
I know when me and my wife went to Washington D.C. a few years back, and we I was driving back, and seen a sign that says Manassas Battlefield, and she was sitting in the passenger seat, but she was actually asleep. And I just knowed if I would turn down that road to go find it, she would wake up. And I still wouldn't ever got to see it. But that was the closest I ever been to. Then we went to Virginia at Veterans Day one year to my cousin's daughter's school because they was doing something for the veterans, and I had to take my dad out there, and we went to what's the name of that place? Appomattox Courthouse.
Oh, nice.
That was so awesome. I got to see where the surrender of the war was at and everything. That was cool.
Have you been to Bennett Place in Durham?
Uh-uh.
Um, so depending who you talk to, some people will say the Civil War ended at Appomattox, and others will say it happened at Bennett Place. uh, Civil War jargon,
No,
It's what do you think? Do you think it ended at Bennett Place, or do you think it ended at Appomattox?
be honest with you, I couldn't say, to be honest with you. Because I know it still went on after they signed the surrender. I know it still went on until they got the news.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my opinion. But
That's a good point.
because they
Yeah.
didn't have cell phones back in them days to say, "Hey, we stopped," so y'all quit.
No mass text messages, no Facebook group messages.
Yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, Appomattox is really cool. Living in Virginia since I moved here, it's been the paranormal community in Virginia is completely different from North Carolina paranormal community. It's like there's a lot of really accessible places around here.
yeah,
Um, not as much in DC because it's Washington DC. Um, there's a lot of like haunted walking tours that I've actually been tempted to go on just because I'm curious. But some of them are really expensive, like $80, and I'm like,
good Lord.
I'm not paying that much to walk 2 miles. Like when I can just go to Google and
Yeah,
like I guess I'm paying for the experience, but I'm like I'm not going to pay that much.
yeah.
Sorry. Especially if I have to walk. If it was one of those like pedaling booze cruises, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, let's go." But not if I have to walk in the heat and no. It's hot up here, not like North Carolina humidity, but it's still hot. So I'm like,
Yeah.
nah. I mean, you can see with my hair is like, right now. Yeah.
Here's another question for you. How would you recommend someone who is not a paranormal investigator have a respectful paranormal experience like at a haunted location? That was Amber asked that.
Oh, Oh, Amber, I love her. She's amazing. We've also been best friends since we were like 5 years old. So she's she knows me. She knows me. Um, that's a good question. So a respectful paranormal experience. I've been finding lately. Well, when I say lately, I mean the last like 5 years. I've been finding that spirits are just as curious about you as you are about them. And just talking to them like human beings. I know it seems like, well, duh, but it's when you look at like the way ghost hunting shows are, it's always give us a sign of your presence or who's here right now. It's very like, you know, do you know that you're dead? I hate that question, by the way. um, I find that they're just as curious about us as we are of them, and sharing our personal stories of, hey, I'm Alex. I live in Washington D.C. and I'm here to visit.
Yeah,
That kind of thing, just like telling stories, or it's like I came here because I heard about X, Y, and Z. Um, yeah, I mean, I the first time I really ever did that was in 2012. Actually, I was on the USS Hornet, and we weren't really getting much. We were in the sick bay, which was apparently a super active spot, but we weren't getting anything. And
yeah,
we just started talking about World War II and just this person like sharing personal stories of like what we know. And I said, I know the USS Hornet fought in the Pacific against, Imperial Japan. You may be interested in hearing this, but my grandfather was Japanese during World War II and he was in the US Army. And when I said that, saw all these balls of green light flying around the sick bay. It was almost like fireflies, but they stayed illuminated. They weren't like fading in and out. They just stayed illuminated. And it was just these green balls of light flying around the sick bay. Of course, our camcorder shut off when this happened because that's what happens. But we went
yeah,
and turned on the lights and we're like, there's got to be a light. There's got to be something causing this. So we're like checking everything. It's the sick bay. We're like 3 levels down from the top. And for anyone who's ever been on an aircraft carrier or any sort of battleship or any sort of like naval vessel, there's no windows. Like
yes,
everything is sealed. Like it is. They say if you get lost on one of these things, you need to just stay in one spot until someone finds you. And it's true.
yeah,
So we go back and turn off the lights again. And I said, I'm sorry we turned off the lights. I just wanted to check something. I would love to talk to you again if you're around. And then the green lights came back. And it was just the weirdest thing. And then one of our other friends came in and they stopped and they never came back. They never came back. So I think, and I have a couple of other friends who share their personal stories when connecting with spirits of marginalized groups.
yeah.
Just sharing their own experience as that person. And they get a lot of responses. So I think there's something to it of making it more of a conversation than just us asking questions.
Yeah.
Um, I think there, and you know this, I think there's a reason why we get more EVP hits when we're just bantering between us, like talking about pizza toppings or,
Yeah.
talking about work the next day. I think there's a reason for that. So I think as long as treat them like human beings, you're going to be respectful.
Oh,
And don't treat them like circus acts. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah.
So.
That's interesting because we just had got back in March. We did North Carolina battleship.
Oh, nice.
Investigated it. Uh, it was an experience. We
I
had, let's see, we had investigated with us Oregon, Florida, Georgia. Everybody came with us. We had 20 some. It was a good place to go. It's crazy.
I bet. Yeah, I've been there twice now. I've been there twice, and something new always happens when we're there.
Yeah.
Something new, but it's so big. I feel like I've been there twice, stayed the night. I feel like I've only scratched the surface on maybe a tenth of
Yeah.
it. But there's so many stories with it, and there's so many men that had served on the USS North Carolina that I'm finding are very eager to talk to us. Um,
Yeah.
it was really interesting. One of the first time we went, I was on an all female team. That wasn't intentional. That's just how it worked out. Everyone
Yeah.
was female on our team. So when we went to the USS North Carolina, we dressed up in period clothing, like from the 1940s. And we used language from the 1940s and just, it was interesting. Like, we basically treated the guys like, oh, is there a sailor that wants to take us out for the evening?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't contextual for women to be on the ship, or at least women like us to be on the ship.
Yeah.
So we were trying to make it make sense, and it actually ended up working out. Like, one of my team members, her skirt got flipped up, and we got that on camera.
Oh, that's
Um,
crazy.
and I felt like there was like somebody grabbed my arm when I asked for an escort to the mess hall.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but what was interesting was anytime we asked about the war, they stopped responding. But
Yeah.
if we were talking about music, cigarettes, pinup girls, dancing, drinking, they were ready to chat and ready to engage.
Yeah.
Um, and then the second time that I went to the USS North Carolina, we had more of a mixed group. So, and we didn't dress up this time. And we actually got more responses about the war.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that first time we went, we dressed in period clothing. We were acting like ladies who wanted to go on a date. They did not want to talk about the war with us. It
Yeah.
was just, I found it really interesting because, they really wouldn't have talked about it with women, especially like women they may want to date or take out. They wouldn't be talking about the war. So
Yeah.
thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of things did you experience on the USS North Carolina?
Just a lot of like touching, hitting, you know, I did hear a couple voices,
Hmm.
but it never did get caught on my recorder or nothing.
That's how it always works, right?
No. I actually put brand new batteries, took them out of a pack, put them in the recorder, and as soon as I walked down there and started master recording, it was dead as 4 o'clock.
Oh
Yes,
no.
brand spanking new batteries.
Oh. Oh
I can't.
man.
I did hear a woman's voice, but I think it might have been a nurse or some sort,
Hmm.
and that was actually in the sick bay area.
Oh wow.
Because the North Carolina, it was actually the first of the war. It served in the Pacific
Hmm.
right after Pearl Harbor was hit, and that's when North Carolina went down there and got all the casualties and stuff like that, and brought them back and
Yep.
everything. So
Hmm.
that's where that I believe that's how I heard the female's voice. It was actually a nurse or some sort.
Yeah.
It had to have been.
Wow. Wow. That's cool. It's cool that you heard that. We had it was my last visit there. We they so the caretaker of the evening, he had already turned off all the radios and all the sound effects because the walking tour, they do like this immersive experience. He had already turned everything off, so there was nothing besides the lights on, and
Yeah,
we kept hearing somebody like trying to send Morse code when we were down one of the hallways, to the point where I went upstairs and I asked the caretaker, I said, "Hey, did you turn all the sounds off and all the sound effects off?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Can you double check just to make sure? Because we're hearing things." And he went down there and he's like, "Yeah, it's all off." So I don't know if we were hearing like an active like entity, or were we hearing like residual energy, um, or even a time slip. Um, that's a whole other weird area of the paranormal that I love to explore more, is the
yeah.
the time slips.
Well, I'm gonna play the P3 program video right quick for a few second break. Uh, because it's very short, but it's not long. I'll go ahead and play it and give you a little bit.
People come and people go through high streets we know. Dark and light, day and night. No one knows what the future will bring. All or nothing. Gotta mean something when you're misunderstood. Gotta mean something when you're up to no good. Misunderstood, this firewood keeps me sane. Like the teeth from my neck on my gold chain. Misunderstood, I'm no victim, no Robin Hood. Hang them teeth round my neck on my gold chain. My ghost in my dreams.
Nice.
Yeah, I had to play that because I am a part of the P3 program,
Mhm.
and I try to help support everybody, and I'll try to encourage everybody to go and check out their videos and their YouTube channels and Facebook. Uh, just try to help everybody to go and get, you know, see different people's different types of investigate and how they investigate different style and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
So what kind of style do you like? Do you like to walk all the way through a place, investigate, or do you like to go to a certain area and sit down for a few minutes and see if you can get something?
Um, that's a great question. So it depends sometimes. If it's like a small place, then, yeah, we might just go ahead and just dive right in because we'll have time to explore everything. But with other locations that are like massive, like the USS North Carolina, um, or even the USS Hornet, I might just, probably do some sort of like tour, just to get acquainted with the space and to see what the hot spots are. Because especially when you're in a location that big, sometimes you don't have a lot of time. So it's like, okay, well, what are the hot spots so that I can go to the hot spots, and then if we have time after, we can explore other locations. And
Yeah,
this is why, like, I will definitely say if you can go to a location more than once, definitely go, because sometimes you won't get anything at the hot spots, but there may be like an untouched area that has all
yeah,
sorts of activity that's worth checking out. So that's why I'll tell people, like, don't limit yourself, but if you're short on time, then do what you need to do. Yeah, so
yeah.
it really just depends.
Yeah, that's what I like to do. I like to just to sit there for a few minutes,
Hmm.
at a certain spot and just try to get the feel of that area and see what all that I can get there than what everybody else is saying that they've got.
Hmm.
And plus, I'm too lazy to walk. To-
That's fair. Especially with a place like the USS North Carolina where you have like so many those ladders, the ladders.
yeah,
The ladders will get you. Um,
you know them boys had to be in shape to climb up down all them ladders.
yeah, I was telling so my fiance is a Navy vet, and I was telling him about it. Because I think it was the after the first time I went to the USS North Carolina, I was on my way home and the next morning and the soreness just started to kick in, and I was like, yelling as I was trying to get out of the car. And I looked
Yeah.
at Chris and I was like, I don't know how you did this when you were serving in the Navy. Like, I don't understand. And he was like, well, I'm about like 80 pounds heavier now, but it's just something,
Yeah.
it's just part of the job. It's what you did. So I was like, oh geez.
Yeah.
Definitely a different type of definitely had to be in shape. Yeah, that's a being in shape on a whole different level.
Yeah.
Especially when sliding down those ladders and going up, and some of them are pretty steep too. And yeah.
Has he go on an investigation with you?
He did help me with one investigation that I did in Fayetteville a few years ago. I was running a ghost tour at this area called Heritage Square.
Yeah.
Great place. My poor fiance, though, it was like his first time really doing a ghost hunt, and some of the equipment was going off, and he was just looking at it like he didn't know what to think. He's a skeptic too, so he was very like, okay, we need to find out what's causing this, but oh my gosh, so he was freaking out, poor guy. But he's my biggest cheerleader. He supports me. He takes care of the cats when I'm gone, and he holds down the house. One of these days I'll probably start taking him more often, because it's a fun thing to do as a couple, just to kind of, I see all these all these paranormal couples doing their thing, and I'm just like, man, that looks like fun. So to go with your partner or your spouse, yeah, one of these days, it's gonna depend on his comfort level too, because it's one thing to say you're a skeptic, but then it's a whole other thing when you start to like see the equipment go off, or you hear that voice that came out of nowhere, and it's a whole other experience when you're there and in the moment. So yeah.
My wife went on with me on one investigation, and her first investigation was the trivia clinic.
Oh, nice.
And we had everything set up. Everything was running good. It came up a storm and knocked the power out, so we had to do it old school style.
Nice.
And didn't have no. It was cold too, because didn't have no heat in the building, and it was all freezing. And she got to see the cat toys going off, and the K2, and a few other things that happened that night. But we actually had to leave. The storm was so bad that you couldn't even stay inside the building. It was,
oh my gosh.
yeah, it was crazy.
Wow. That had to have been a really bad storm then, yeah, if you had to leave.
Yeah.
Jeez. Wow.
And she liked it. She's a skeptic too. She thinks I'm crazy, but she does support me and stuff like that. So I gotta give her that.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. She supports you.
She's been there with me throughout all this. Like I said, when I first started crossover, I never dreamed to be on this level that we're on right now. It's just supposed to be me and my dad spend some time with each other. That's all it's supposed to be in, but now my name was in the UK, Japan, Australia, Canada. Never dreamed that.
That's amazing.
So
that's so cool.
So it's awesome. It's awesome. You want to tell everybody about what books you have read so far, and they let them know where they can go find them at, or
yeah, we could do that.
Or can they order from you or whatever?
Yeah, so I have an Etsy shop. If you go to the spookystuff.etsy.com, you should be able to find the books that are available if you want to buy a signed copy. But you can also get them on Amazon. So you can go to amazon.com, type in my name, and my books should all pop up. Yeah, they should all pop up as well. I do charge a little more on my Etsy shop because, shipping, shipping. But but you would not that I make more money on Etsy, but it's better for the author if you order from Etsy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I sell my books online. They're on Amazon. I've written, gosh, Haunted Actor, More Than Ghosts, Haunting of the 10th Avenue Theater, One Bed Over Brief. I've written 6 books so far, or five books. 6 technically if you include the Trivia Clinic book. But that one's still a work in progress. Yeah, so the first book is The Haunted Actor. That's the one about, the relationship between the paranormal and theater. I dive into like why theaters are haunted, the history, the supernatural history of like plays, and it's a very academic book because it came from my thesis. What's really cool though is Indiana State University, their theater program actually uses my book as part of their like reference material for like lectures and everything, which is cool. And then the book after that is called More Than Ghosts, and that is a book about doing residential cases in the paranormal field.
Yeah.
A lot of people who and they have wonderful intentions. There are a lot of people who want to go and help others who are dealing with paranormal phenomenon as well. But there's a whole other level to doing residential cases, especially in the world of like liability, because you don't want to get sued. And investigating people's homes, you are open to get sued, or you can cause more harm. So
Yeah.
that book is basically a guide on how to do residential cases safely and how to protect yourself. It's more of like it's more logistics than spooky like ghost stories. It's like, this is how you start a team. This is how you avoid getting sued for everything you own. This is how you can help the client and
No.
that sort of thing. And then the book after that, this one's out of print, but I'm going to be putting out a second edition. It's called The Haunting of the 10th Avenue Theater. I'm working on a second edition of that book right now. Probably will release that maybe in 2023. And then I took a little bit of a break from writing for a bit. And then the book that came out after that was The Brave Mortal's Guide to Ghost Hunting. That is a book where if you're interested in ghost hunting, you want to learn more about how to be a paranormal investigator, that's the book. That's the book to read. And then the last book I just released, which was in 2021, is One Bed Over, a hospital haunting. And earlier in the interview, I mentioned about my car accident and the spirit attachment that happened afterwards. That story was actually covered on the TV show Haunted Hospitals. So I knew, as extensive as my story was, because I was in the studio about 3 hours telling them my story, they cut it down to 20 minutes. So I knew they weren't going to be able to capture everything. So that's why I wrote the book. So I wrote the book to kind of fill in any blanks, to kind of go into deeper details about what happened.
Yeah.
Because you get the 20-minute version on TV, but a lot of people wanted to know, like, okay, but what happened with this, or what else happened here? And I'm like, okay, I can dive in, because with TV they'll take the most dramatic stuff and they will make a program out of it. And they actually did a really good job telling my story, so that was something I was really grateful for. They did a great job with that. So that's my latest book, One Bed Over, a Hospital Haunting. And that's all available on Amazon. If you want a signed copy, you can go to my Etsy shop at thespookystuff.etsy.com. That will take you to my store. So if you want me to sign it, I will. Yeah. So those are my books, or the books I have out right now. And then the Trivia Clinic book, it looks like that's going to be released in early September, because October is a very popular month at the Trivia Clinic, as you know, for the ghost tours and everything. So we're going to try to have the book out by then. So, yeah.
That's cool. I was going to ask you something. I forgot now what it was. Oh, if you had the trip paid for and you don't have to worry about pay for anything, where would your most place that you would like to go investigate? Money's no object for you.
Okay. Um, okay. It's gonna have to be the Aokigahara, the suicide forest in Japan.
Okay.
Not because of all of the unalivings there, but um, there's a lot going on there
Yeah.
spiritually. Uh, there's a lot of lore that there's a creature in that forest that is influencing people to take their own lives.
Yeah.
Um, but there's also a chemical reason that could be happening too with the way that the rocks and the plants are with because of the land that it sits on, that could influence people as well. So there's a lot going on, not just like spiritually but also geographically and uh biology wise. I would love to investigate the place, just to feel it out. That's definitely like it's such an enigma to me, and it's one of those places that I don't think we'll ever get the full answer for, but I feel like we can at least get a little bit closer if, yeah, I mean, and it's public land. I mean, they sadly they have signs all over the place with like emergency helpline numbers and basically saying like, "Hey, don't do this to yourself." It's really sad.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like you have to wonder like what else is happening there. Um, yeah, that's definitely a place I would want to I would want to check out just to see if there can be some sort of like clarity as to what's going on there, because
Yeah.
there's something going on there, whether it's spooky or it can be scientifically explained with like the type of plants that are growing there.
Yeah.
Um, it's a it's a strange place. It's a very strange place. So yeah.
That's pretty cool. I hadn't thought about that one. Uh, I always thought about going somewhere like Stonehenge.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've got a feeling you might find something there also. I
Yeah, I
don't.
mean, with how old that land is and how old the structure is, 100%,
Yeah.
there's something going on. I think, even if it's not like a conscious entity, I'd say it's not like just the energy of like the multiple generations that have been there.
Yeah.
Um, our heritage, that sort of thing. I think there's definitely something to be said about
Yeah.
that for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Do you watch any like scary movies, horror movies, or anything?
I do watch horror movies and I watch scarier TV shows. I don't really watch paranormal shows though, to be honest. I find that their formula is very there's just nothing new on TV anymore. Like it's the exact same structure, it's the exact same formula. I was really trying to watch Conjuring Kesha, which is like the new paranormal show that's out with Kesha. um, I was very disappointed in it. I was just like, man, but I'm gonna keep supporting it anyway because there's not a lot of TV shows where women are the front runner, and
Yeah.
I want to support that as much as I can, even if I don't like the content. It's just
Yeah.
first episode right off the bat, it's a demon, So I was like, no. I was like, no, why did we do this? It's not always a demon. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. I like some of the horror shows. I don't really. I'm not a big fan of watching like scary movies or nothing.
Mhm.
But I have watched some of Stephen King's stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, my cousin, he was a big Stephen King fan. He read all of his books, even Dean Koontz stuff.
Oh, nice. Nice.
He got me into watching the movies. I can't sit and read like books like he did, one after another one and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But he got me hooked on Stephen King and The Shining and stuff like that. I got hooked
Oh,
on.
yeah.
But
Shining's a good one.
I just don't like to go to a hotel room and go outside and look down the hallway and see two twins standing out the end. Now,
Nope.
that's a little bit freaky for me.
Yep, that's my hard nope. If I saw that, I would just turn the other way around and just be like, "Nope, we're not doing this. Nope. Thanks for the invite, but nope."
But
Nope.
I do want to go to the Stanley Hotel so bad.
Oh yeah.
That
100%.
I think that is so pretty when it snows on that red roof back up in the
Mhm.
mountains, that white building like that. That is so
Yep.
cool.
Yep, agreed. It's a gorgeous property. It's a gorgeous building and there's some really weird things happening there too. That's another
Yeah.
one where I'm like, okay. Like, all right, sounds good. That's something spooky happening there, and we'll just deal with it as it comes.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I guess that about covers everything. So
yeah.
I'm glad that you really got to come on. I was so excited for tonight's show. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to get off work to get home.
Aw.
Um,
Well, thank you for asking me. I love doing these types of shows, and I love getting a chance to talk to people and um, network. That's a big one, and
yeah,
it sounds like you're doing an amazing job. I mean, you got people all over the world listening,
yeah,
listening to you and doing your thing, and um, I've always seen like the people who are really passionate about it really do good in this field and they do a
yeah,
great job. And, you get an audience and you get people paying attention to what you're doing and supporting you and cheering you on. So,
yeah.
yeah, you're doing something right.
Back in starting of the chat, there's a lady that came in named Irene.
Hmm.
She's from Japan.
Yeah, Irene. Yeah, I know Irene. We talked a little bit on Facebook, but yeah, that's amazing.
Okay.
All the way in Japan. That's so awesome. And she's a good one. She doesn't just listen to anything. She only listens to the good stuff. So you're doing good.
It's I mean it's crazy how, like I said, how this thing got started. It just must be me and my dad. My mom passed away in 2016, and my dad, he's getting on up in age, and I want to spend more time with him much as is possible.
Yep.
And he don't like baseball cards. I'm a big baseball card collector. I love cards. He don't care much for it, so I thought, well, we go do ghost hunting. And we got it started. One thing led to another like that. And it just growed into something that's pretty
Hmm.
much family. It is family operated now. Me, dad, my dad's sister, and my
Hmm.
cousin.
Oh wow.
See, they live in Virginia. They live in Roanoke, Virginia.
Oh yeah, I love Roanoke.
So
Yeah.
they take care of the crossover paranormal in Virginia, and I take it in North Carolina. So actually, I guess you can say we got two offices.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of how it is with my team too. I got one in Raleigh, one in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and then me and my historian were both in Virginia. So it's like, yeah, we kind of multiple offices.
I'm about 30 minutes, 35 minutes from Winston-Salem, where I live at.
Nice.
So
It's awesome.
I'm just below the Blue Ridge Mountains where I live.
Oh man, I bet that's gorgeous.
It is when it ain't raining. It's done been raining here now for past 4 days.
Nice.
Non-stop rain. Well, I'm glad you got to come on, and I really appreciate it. I've been wanting to show you those rocking chair clips and the hallway clip. And,
Yeah.
uh, I I couldn't wait to get home and have his show start because I know it's going to be a great show and everything. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored that you asked. I was really excited when you asked me. I was like, yeah. So, yeah, thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and probably go ahead and get off of here and I gotta get to bed. I got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow.
Sounds good.
I appreciate it. I thank you a lot.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. And anytime you want me back or you want to talk paranormal, you know how to get a hold of me, and we could talk shop, and hopefully I can meet you maybe in person in a few months for the book release too.
Oh yeah, I'm planning on just send you set the date and give me the date that you got set, and
Hmm.
I'll try to make it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I'll keep you posted.
All right. Well, you have a good rest of your night, and you have a good week,
You
and
too.
I'll be in touch with you.
Sounds good.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Alrighty.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Well, everybody, I appreciate y'all stopping by. Y'all heard it from her. She told you how to get in touch with her to get her books. Uh, I appreciate her coming on. I enjoyed it. I've couldn't wait to get here tonight to get her started on the show. I really can't wait till her book come out for the clinic. It's going to be interesting. Listen what she has to say about all of her experiences and everybody else she has interviewed that investigated the clinic. And like I said, every weekend on Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do have a talk show like tonight. Next Sunday, Brian John Laverty's coming on. He's the creator of Parapost Network Central. He's going to be my guest for next weekend. Y'all don't want to miss it neither. He's a real good guy. He's from Canada, and he has a show called Through the Lens with Brian and Lex, or Lex and Brian. I can't remember how it is. So, yeah, if y'all don't mind, y'all go check him out. I'm not exactly sure when their show comes on. I can't remember nothing. So just go to his Facebook stuff, and he'll have it posted there probably when his shows come on. And just go and check it out and follow all the P3 program people that's in that video I just showed earlier at the break, and go follow each and every one of them, and you will be amazed about some of the evidence they get, some of their talk shows they do. They do have a lot of talk shows. They talk about the cryptid stuff and all the supernatural stuff, paranormal, everything. So you can go check them out, and you'll be amazed about some stuff you will learn and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and get off of here, and I appreciate each and everybody that joined in. Everybody's in the chat. If I didn't get to show y'all's comment up on the screen, I'm sorry. As I can't focus on both things at once. I do apologize if I hadn't had a chance to put y'all up there. I will next time soon. When we come back again for next week, I will put y'all's up there. I do appreciate all the people from Facebook joining in, and all the YouTube people joined in. Lisa, my cousin Shasta, my buddy Dwayne, Big Apple Stacker. I appreciate them coming in and checking us out. Supernatural Lost Adventures. I mean, everybody, y'all been so awesome. Raymond, Irene, I just appreciate each and every one of you. So go check us out on Facebook and YouTube, And we're also on Per Post Network Central on Facebook. We're streaming there too. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And I will see y'all later.